Hello, everyone. It's doing that thing again where I can see the chat. Let's see if I can figure out a way to fix that. No, I just made it worse. Huh. All right. Well, I'm going to just trust that you're there. So weird. Hang on one second. Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
Oh, can you look at YouTube on your phone and just make sure that everything's working okay? The chat thing is not popping up. So there's this thing once in a while where you can't see the chat. So, all right. Sorry about that. Michelle's going to just check and make sure that everything's okay, that you're not trying to tell me something. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started. And then after I get through timing the meditation, she says everything's good.
Yeah. Brendan and Mariana say hello and good evening.
Hi, Brendan and Mariana. All right. And I'll pull up the chat on my phone when I get through timing the meditation. Anyway, let us begin. With the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Gata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Three bows. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room. protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. So you'll probably be able to hear it. It's thundering where I am as a thunderstorm, which is why Lola keeps coming in here. She's afraid of thunder, poor thing. So she'll be in and out probably. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with the boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. I may have a 65-pound dog in my lap when we get through with meditation. Hopefully the storm will pass soon. Metta prayer. May I be happy and well, and may no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. So we do a 20-minute silent meditation tonight. I'm going to set the If the ambient noise here bugs you and you want to mute your computer for 20 minutes, you can safely do that. We'll sit for 20 minutes. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma, their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance, that all karma be resolved in the mind, flower bloom, and eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized. May they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are in prison should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, all those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from COVID-19, those working to protect and treat them, and to those grieving for those lost to this pandemic. I'm going to suggest that we take a moment of silence. If you'd like, you can dedicate your merit to the people dealing with war in the Middle East, to those suffering in India from the pandemic. And there are members of our congregation who are dealing with losses and illness. So we'll take a moment for them. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu ave rasa kajivino katang punya phalang mahang sabe bagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. Give me a minute just to get YouTube, get this up on my phone. Okay. Hello, Catherine and Art. And I think I said hello to Brandon and Marianne earlier. I don't know why it does that. Every once in a while, YouTube will, when I go live, the little chat bar, if you ever do a live stream on YouTube, you'll see that over to the right, there's this little chat bar where I can see what you're saying. And every once in a while, that chat bar will just go black. And I haven't figured out a way to fix it without stopping the stream and starting it over, which I didn't want to do. But I can see you on my phone now, or see your comments anyway. So, hi. This book here, Mindfulness in Plain English, by Bhante Gunaratana, is a really good one. I'd say of the books that are out there on mindfulness through, ordinary bookseller type publishers, this is one of the best. I quoted something from S. Warren's book the other day, which was one of the books that I used as a as a textbook when I was teaching contemplative practices at Stetson. And this is one of the other books that I had them read. So if you're into reading about meditation, this would be a really good one. So I'm going to read a quote from you, and then I'll kind of talk about what he's talking about here. There are three fundamental activities of mindfulness. We can see these activities as functional definitions of the term. Mindfulness reminds us of what we are supposed to be doing. It sees things as they really are, and it sees the true nature of all phenomena. And then he goes on to explain those in greater detail. So I think this is a really nice way of talking about mindfulness. This term mindfulness gets tossed around a lot in different settings, in sort of secular contexts, and not secular context too, and sacred context as well, but especially with the whole mindfulness movement and that sort of thing. The idea of mindfulness just as sort of bare attention, being in the moment, that kind of thing gets and that's a misunderstanding, I think, or an incomplete understanding of what the practice of mindfulness really is in the context of Buddhism and Buddhist meditation. So let's look at those. And it's interesting, he calls them three functional activities. So mindfulness isn't a thing, it's not just a state, it's something that you do. So there's three things you do. And the first is reminds us of what we are supposed to be doing. So this term sati, which is the Pali word for mind, that's often translated as mindfulness, or usually translated as mindfulness, has this quality of remembering to it. That's not talked about a lot in this kind of general context of mindfulness, but it means remembering what it is that you're supposed to be doing with your mind. Okay, so it's not making your grocery list or thinking about what you need to get done tomorrow. It is staying on an object of meditation or staying with an object of meditation. And so if you're meditating on the breath, for example, the quality of mindfulness, this remembering what it's supposed to be doing, is remembering to keep coming back to the breath. So, you sit down, the bell rings, and then you're constantly on your breath for 20 minutes without wavering, right? Is that the way that works? In a perfect world, that's the way that would work. But in a perfect world with perfect people in it, that's the way it would work. But we're not perfect people. We're not in a perfect world. And so there are distractions that come up. And some of those distractions arise within our own mind. And so the quality of mindfulness, the activity of mindfulness, is to remember, I was supposed to be meditating on my breath right now. Let me get back to that. So reminds us of what we're supposed to be doing. And then the second one, it sees things as they really are. So this is where that sort of bare attention idea comes in. Gunaratna explains it this way. He says, mindfulness adds nothing to perception and subtracts nothing. It distorts nothing. It is bare attention and just looks at whatever comes up. So you don't deny what has arisen. You don't sit down and think, I shouldn't have this particular feeling arise or anything like that. Simply what is there is what you're observing. The breath comes in, the breath goes out. Maybe a pleasant feeling arises. Maybe an unpleasant feeling arises. Maybe a neutral feeling arises. Maybe the mind generates thoughts, which you can let go of. Maybe the mind generates a certain state of mind. Maybe anger arises, so on. So you just see what comes up as it is. Now, that doesn't mean that you let it hook you. I talked about that not too long ago, about this idea of feelings and thoughts and so on, hooking you. And I said, really, the stuff that comes into your consciousness doesn't hook you. It just comes into your consciousness. And then you hook it. You hook yourself onto it. So you just don't do that. And if you have done that, then that quality of remembering comes back. I was going to meditate on my breath for 20 minutes. Let me get back to that. And so we just simply see what comes up. Maybe it's an unpleasant sensation. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to evaluate it. You don't have to add storyline to it. You don't have to subtract anything from it. You don't have to reject it as something that's not supposed to be there. You don't have to pretend that you're not having it. Anything like that. It's simply an unpleasant sensation. And it's there. It's part of what's going on right now. A lot of times I get people who are trying to meditate, or they're meditating. They say they're trying to meditate. They're actually meditating. If you're trying to meditate, you're meditating. And they'll say, oh, man, I'm having so much pain. I can't meditate because of all the pain. Well, you're noticing the pain because you're meditating. The mind starts to quiet down. You're not doing all the stuff that you're usually doing to obscure that from you. And therefore, you experience what's there. And what happens to be coming up right now is an unpleasant sensation. And then when you try to push that away, or think that it shouldn't be there, or think that you're not a good meditator because this pain in your back shouldn't be coming up and all that kind of crap, if you stop doing that and just accept there's an unpleasant sensation, then what happens is the unpleasant sensations tend to diminish. And what you do experience tends to be more you. I like to talk about it as being comfortable with your discomfort. Okay? The body doesn't change, but you become comfortable with your discomfort. And it's a strange thing when it happens. It's a very liberating thing when it happens. You'll go, oh, where did my pain go? And then it'll come back because you're thinking about it. But if you just settle your attention on what it is that you're supposed to be doing for this 20 minutes or whatever, and then accept whatever arises as it is, then you'll find that an awful lot of the suffering that you experience happens because of the way your mind pushes things away or holds on to things. It holds on to the idea about what you should feel like and so on. And when an unpleasant sensation arises, if you stop thinking of it as my pain and simply accept this unpleasant sensation has arisen, and then let me see what this is. What does it do? Let me investigate it. Does it come and go? Or is it constant? Is it hot or cold? Just look at it as it is. And once you can do that, then you de-identify with it. And when you de-identify with it, then it doesn't bother you. Probably. Maybe. All right. So it sees things as they really are. And then it involves seeing the true nature of all phenomena. So this is the kind of the interesting part. And this is where then mindfulness of just concentrating on your breath develops beyond that into being aware of the nature of reality. And so there are three things that we consider with that. So, by the way, at White Sands, I don't talk about that because Venerable Kai Tien doesn't like to include it in teaching like beginners. But once you've got some concentration and you can sit for a while, it's nice to know these things. There are three qualities of existence. Do you know what they are? Anybody want to type them in the chat? Okay. I talk about these in Dharma talks fairly regularly. The first is dukkha, stressful. We translate that as suffering a lot of the time. But basically, stress takes all kinds of forms: disappointment, frustration, boredom. Boredom is dukkha. Anything that is inconstant, thus and therefore subject to letting us down in some way, or becoming unpleasant in some way, or just simply not becoming pleasant the way we expect it to be, is stressful. That's dukkha. Birth is stressful, death is stressful, illness is stressful, old age is stressful, getting what you don't want is stressful, not getting what you do want is stressful. In short, the 5 aggregates are stressful. That's what the Buddha actually said in the setting the wheel of Dharma in motion. You'll hear all life is suffering. The Buddha never said all life is suffering. What he said was, what is inconstant is subject to stress. So that's the first quality. And so as you're meditating and you feel uncomfortable, well, that's dukkha, isn't it? That's what happens. This body is subject to that. So stressful. Second one is inconstant. People say impermanent. Impermanent is fine. It's changing, constantly changing. Anything that is made up of other things, which is most phenomena, is going to change, because whatever holds it together is going to change. So this pleasant feeling that has arisen, this blissful feeling that I have right now while meditating, is going to change. Okay? So don't be surprised when it changes. This unpleasant sensation that I have right now is going to change too. Maybe it will go away. Maybe it'll get worse. Right? Neutral feelings also change. Thoughts come up and go away. They change. All of these things are made up of other things. And anything that's made up of other things is going to change. And then the last of these 3 qualities of existence is not self. The Pali word is anatta. Sanskrit word anatman means not self. People talk about the doctrine of no self. There's no self in Buddhism. That's not really that useful to think about it that way, because then you go look in the mirror and you go, oh, I recognize that person. I must have a self. It means that there's no inherent, enduring, permanent existence here. There's no entity here beyond that which is stressful and subject to change. So this is where the whole question of soul comes in, and is there a soul in Buddhism and stuff like that. The idea with the soul is that there is something that is permanent and enduring and unchanging and super duper special and all of that kind of stuff, and divine or whatever, and that this inhabits this body. And in Buddhism, what we say is that this what we see as a self is made up of this body and then other things, consciousness, the senses, the thoughts that arise, feelings. So there are 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, awareness. And so that's what the self is. And it's not mine to the extent that I can control it. If it was, it'd be thinner and my knee wouldn't hurt. So, and I'd probably be about 30 years younger. 30 years younger would be good. If this was mine, that's what I'd do. But that's not what happens. What happens is that because of karma, because of past actions, some of them before this ever existed, causes something to happen. And, there's a number of ways that you can think about that, but because of past actions, something happens and this thing comes into existence. I didn't do anything to get it. Right? I don't get to decide how long it lives or how good looking it is or any of those things. I have some influence over things like health, and mental acuity and those kinds of things. There's a lot I can do, but there's nothing I really can control, because the self is not really a grand, there's no entity in control. So I can't prevent thoughts from arising. I can't only feel a certain way. I can't only perceive certain things. I can't be conscious all the time. I can't be aware of things that I can't see. All these things are limited because there's no permanent, enduring self that's really under my control. But what is under my control is how I respond to these things. So when something comes up into my consciousness, I can recognize it as stressful. I can recognize it as changing. I can recognize it as being empty of self. So this is where the emptiness comes from. Everything is empty of self. And therefore, all compounded phenomena are stressful and subject to change. And when you really realize that, then that's when you can become liberated. When you're not connecting to the ideas about how things should be, then you're able to kind of go with what really is. So that's where, because all of that other stuff, when as I sit here talking about it, sounds really unpleasant. It's like, why would thinking this make me happy? And yet, somehow it does. Because when we accept what is, then we can work with what is, instead of working with what we think should be. It's not a reality. So that's the practice of mindfulness. So as you're meditating, when things come up, you can recognize them as stressful and accept that stressful things come up. You might sit down to meditate and, man, concentration really kicks in and this pleasant feeling arises. Oh, that's good. And then maybe you're at White Sands and somebody's stomach grumbles, or somebody falls asleep and starts snoring. They've just messed up my concentration. No, they haven't. Circumstances change. Reality changes constantly. So what messed up your concentration is your concentration. So just get it back. That's all. Just come back to it. Maybe a pain arises. It's not a pain. It's an unpleasant sensation. The body is subject to unpleasant sensations. So that's just dukkha. And if I was comfortable a minute ago and now I'm not comfortable, it's also anicca, impermanence. And if I can't control it, even though I want it to go away, I can't control it. That's anatta. That's not self. It's not mind control. So when you kind of work with those ideas then in meditation and relative to what arises. Now here's the thing. The reason a lot of people don't want to teach this early on is because you don't want to go looking for it. You don't want to sit down and meditate and then go, okay, so what's dukkha today? Let me look for that. What's not self today? What's impermanent today? Of course, it all is. What you should be looking for is what's your object of meditation right now. And then as other things come up, you'll notice what reality looks like. You'll notice that things change. You'll notice that things are stressful, right? You'll notice that this thing that you see as a self is really insubstantial. And somehow that's very liberating, okay? Partly because you recognize when you're able to let go of that, then you're able to start opening yourself up to the possibility of awakening to one, I'm not going to tell you what to awaken to awakening. And you'll have experiences of, oneness and things like that. But don't go looking for that. Look for your object of meditation. Now, the next thing is, what should be your object of meditation? How do you practice mindfulness? You start with an object of meditation. And when you're focusing specifically on mindfulness, you want an object of meditation that is, number one, a function of the body. because the body is what's living here and now, and the body is your access to the mind, really, body and mind related. That's how you experience that. And number two, that is changing. So breathing. That's a really good way to start, and it's a really good way to continue. And it's a really good way to end. Now, if you want to go beyond that, there's things you can do. I get asked sometimes, well, what are the advanced forms of meditation? The more advanced you get, the less technique there is. So the stuff with a whole lot of technique, it might take you a lot of effort to learn, like the lamb rim meditations and things like that. They're very complicated. And it will take effort and time and all of that to learn those things. But you learn those things in order that you can sit and do nothing or very, very little. Okay. They help you to access some things. Now, I don't do lamb rim meditation, so I really shouldn't even talk about them. I have no expertise in that area, aside from just a little bit of experience that I've had with them. But even, stuff that I do teach, like Metta Bhavana and, the Brahma Viharas and things like that, a lot of the reason I teach those is because they help you get to that ability to awaken by developing your mind in certain ways. And then you don't have to keep doing it. You can, if something comes up, or if you just want to, if you just find it helpful, or just, you can work with it for the rest of your life if you want to, all the time or some of the time. But the most advanced meditation is no technique. Don't do that, because unless you're a really experienced meditator, because then you'll probably end up not meditating. You'll end up sitting around thinking. But, that's kind of where you're going. The mind itself and what the mind is doing becomes the object of meditation, if you can refine your attention to that extent. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful. If you're reading about meditation, mindfulness in plain English is a really good one. Bhante Gunaratana. Bhante, by the way, is a religious title, like venerable, sort of. So anyway, I'll look and see. I don't see any questions. So thank you very much for being here. And I'll see you in the Zoom meeting tomorrow if you come to that. I'll be at White Sands this Sunday. The Adventures of Sariputta and Moggallana this week is going to be another conversation with a guest. And he's a really cool guy. He's a filmmaker, a Japanese fellow who made a film about the wood carvers who create the statues in Buddhist temples. I may have mentioned that here before. I know I've posted about it. But the conversation was really even better than I expected. It's a pretty wonderful guy to talk to. So I hope you will check that out. And in the meantime, keep practicing, and I will see you soon. Have a good night.